Welcome everybody, wherever you are in the world. It's really, really fantastic that you're coming on this online retreat with Taraloka and the Buddhist Centre Online. And let me see, can I get the title of the retreat right? It's Alive, Aware, Awake. I believe I've got it in the right order. Woohoo! So I'm going to be giving the opening talk where I'm going to be introducing mindfulness and the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So let's see what we can do. So here we go. So the 4 foundations of mindfulness. This is a teaching given by the Buddha 2,500 years ago. And the Buddha calls all the followers in the local area to see him. And he starts off by saying, this is the direct path to the ending of suffering and discontent. This is the direct path for acquiring the true method. This is the direct path to enlightenment. And as he says those words, it's like there's something in me where it's like I can feel the intensity of his desire to communicate, like he's found this path to freedom. And he just wants to tell everybody, like, what is this path to freedom? So it's like, I just end up feeling his, just like how much he wants us to get it. And also I just get a sense of like, he's gathered all these practitioners around him to hear. And I get a sense of like how excited they must have felt, where it's like, you've got the Buddha, the enlightened one, whose consciousness has opened in a way that nobody's had previously. And he's saying, this is the way. This is what you need to do to allow your mind to open the way my mind has opened. And I imagine that must have been, just very, very deeply exciting to have been present to that teaching. And of course, because it's so fundamental, it's been passed down through the centuries, through different teachers, different practitioners, until now it comes to us. It comes to us seated wherever we are in the world, learning how to practice the 4 foundations of mindfulness. Now, when I was thinking about how to what to say about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, I've put in the blurb, mindfulness is an adventure. I suppose I do get quite a strong sense of that. And also, I think the reason why I'm emphasising mindfulness is an adventure is because I think when I first came along, I just felt mindfulness was incredibly boring. Like it was the last thing in the world that I was interested in, was like, the sensations in my knee or whatever it might be. But the reason why I feel mindfulness is an adventure is it's something about we're always entering the unknown. So it's like mindfulness, it's not a particular experience that we're trying to, we're trying to get ourselves in a special state. And we can only do it in very, very particular circumstances. I suppose it's like it's an attitude we bring to our experience. We're trying to bring an aliveness to notice the vivid, exciting quality of our experience. And when we're actually in touch with experience, everything is new and unknown and exciting. Because it is new. Actually, it's like we've never experienced that moment before. We've never sat down on the meditation cushion as the person that we now are. Everything becomes new. I mean, actually, a reflection that I quite often end up bringing in is, this isn't just on the cushion, this is off the cushion as well, is what if this was the last time I were to do this? And it kind of highlights everything in like vivid technicolor. And a reflection that some people in my community prefer is, oh, this is the first time I've ever done this. This is new. This is exciting. So you can see which one might work for you. So, what is mindfulness? A fine question, I always think. One way of looking at it is we're present to our direct experience rather than our stories about our experience. And that also brings in the perspective that actually part of mindfulness is realising how much of the time we are just in our stories about experience. We really don't realise the level to which we inhabit story rather than this actual lived life. So we're present to our direct experience, but we're also present to the significance of it, like why it's important to be present to this moment. So we'll look at that some more in a bit. So I'm thinking about mindfulness not as this special state, but as an attitude we bring to our experience. And the attitude is one of interest and fascination and curiosity, almost like a sort of childlike. I've got two little nephews, they're 2 and 4 now, and I just see them engaging with the world, and they'll just pick up a household object, a sort of spoon or something, and you can see they're fascinated by it. They know they don't know what spoon is, and they'll stick it in their mouths and they'll sort of bang things with it, and they'll stroke it and turn it upside down, and you can just see this kind of they don't know. So can we bring an attitude that actually we don't know, we just don't know what our experience is, and we're interested all the time to kind of go, oh, how can I get closer? How can I be more intimate with my experience? A question I use a lot is, oh, what is this like? This being alive, this moment, what is this like? And it's very simple. Whatever is happening, whatever state we're in, actually it doesn't matter. We can simply become aware, oh, this is going on, this state of anxiety or anger or irritability or joy. Oh, what is this like? So there's another aspect of mindfulness which is about truth seeking. It's like we're more interested in what's actually going on than trying to kind of like make our experience be the way we want it. So what this means is we can bring a level of deep self-acceptance to whatever is arising in our body or our mind. The sort of deep honesty where actually it's more interesting to kind of go, oh, what is going on for me? Oh, envy. What is that like in my body? Is that pleasant or unpleasant? What thoughts are happening? That experience, what is it like? And the only reason that mindfulness can bring that level of deep honesty and able to be being present to whatever's going on is because it's also imbued with kindness. If we have a sort of critical or judging mind going on, saying, oh, well, this is going on, so you're not good enough, or, oh, this is a bit of a failure of practice, there's this going on. If I was a better Buddhist, I wouldn't be angry. Actually, that's not mindfulness in the sense that the Buddha is talking about it. So in that sense, in a way, it is an awareness that is inseparable from kindness. It's just maybe a sense of like sitting alongside ourselves, like you might sit alongside a good friend, and actually you only have compassion for that good friend. You're like, what is that experience like that you've got going on? That's interesting. And of course you wish that that friend was free of any suffering that's present in that experience, and then you delight if the friend is enjoying their experience. But there's not that sense of self-criticism that it can be very easy to bring. So there's this honesty, being present aspect of mindfulness. And when we can deeply experience whatever's happening, whatever's just popping up and arising, emotions, thoughts, whatever, actually the energy that is caught up in them, it releases. But we need to experience it with full awareness for that to happen. So there's a very important aspect about the acceptance and the welcoming, whatever our states may be. But mindfulness has this other aspect where it is clear-sighted and it understands consequences. So sometimes this aspect is referred to as clearly knowing, or sometimes it might be called mindfulness of purpose. That's what Sangharakshita likes to call it. And so this aspect is knowing what is helpful. It's knowing, what direction do I want my life to go in? Who do I want to become? What choices do I want to make in the present moment? And then choosing accordingly. Well, actually, do I want to sit here and go round in my head 10 times an irritation story about something someone's done this morning? Or do I want to sit here and fantasise about when we're out of lockdown where I can go on holiday? Do I want to be locating my happiness somewhere other than where I actually am? And so it does ask us to know, well, where do we want to go? What are our values? What do we want to be living by? What choices do we want to be making? Now, I think sometimes it can sound like these two aspects of mindfulness. It sort of sounds like you're being asked to do two things that are contradictory or something. On the one hand, simply be present, allow and experience mental states without pushing them away. And on the other hand, make clear choices about what we want to be doing, what we want to be investing our energy in. But they only seem contradictory. The only thing that actually makes them contradictory is if we're bringing ill will. Actually, if we're bringing kindness to our awareness, there's no problem in being present to whatever experience is going on. And also seeing, this experience, it's arising on the basis of past habits or other conditions, quite possibly. And that's one thing, that's just fact, that's just what's happening. I need to be present to that. And on the other hand, it's noticing, and what choices am I making in the moment? What am I choosing to do with my mind in the moment? And are those the choices that I want to be making? And just to say, bringing mindfulness or awareness itself, that in itself is a powerful, helpful, skillful choice that will mean we have more and more space to choose. Okay, so now we're going on to what are the 4 foundations of mindfulness. That would be a good thing to go on to, wouldn't it? So one thing about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, before I tell you what they are, they're not separate things, okay? So I have noticed that the human mind has a tendency to look at things as being separate and distinct. And actually it's not really like that. It's more like, because experience, it's happening to us as a piece. It's like experience just flows through, it never stops, and it's not split up into 4 separate things. But it's more like the 4 foundations of mindfulness. It's like a prism where the white light comes through the prism and it splits into 4 different aspects of our experience. And it's more like it's useful, it's useful to notice these aspects of experience rather than they're actually 4 separate things. It's in us in a process of cultivating awareness. It is really, really helpful to be able to pay attention to, there's this particular aspect of experience. Oh yeah, look, I'm going to pay attention to that. And you could also think of them as 4 different gateways. So all of them lead into the fullness of experience, the whole texture of our experience. But you can use any of them as a gateway and just sort of like explore and find out, well, which one opens you up? Which one takes you more directly into experience? So here goes with the 4. So just to say, I am going to be using the Pali terms, and the reason I am is because there are no direct English translations, and even when there are English words, they don't mean specifically and precisely the thing that is being talked about in terms of these 4 foundations. So I am going to teach you the Pali words. So first of all, we've got rupa. And this is referring to body and physical sensation. And Hridayagita will be exploring this more tomorrow. You could think of this as simply the physical senses. All that we know of the world, we know through our senses. Sight, smell, taste, touch, hearing. And in Buddhism, the mind is also considered a sense, but we're not counting that under rupa or body. So that is the first foundation, body and sensation. And then we've got Vedana. Vedana. Now this is the one that I really feel doesn't translate. So sometimes it gets translated as sensation, but actually that just sounds like it's body sensation, like sort of tingly or fizzy or sharp or something like that. And sometimes it gets translated as feeling, but then it sounds like it's an emotion, and it's really not an emotion. So Vedana is this very, very simple knowing. Every sensation that we have arising, we know it's either pleasant, pleasurable, unpleasant, or else it's just a bit like whatever. It's not strongly either pleasant or unpleasant. So that is what Vedana refers to, that very simple knowing of all our experience, whether it's pleasurable, unpleasant, or just neutral. And I'll be exploring that more in a couple of days. So then we come to the third foundation of mindfulness, which is chitta. Chitta. And chitta means heart or mind. Those two aren't separated out in Buddhist thinking. And it refers to all the contents of our mind that we're, like all our thoughts, our emotions, stories, fantasizing, rehearsing, catastrophizing, planning, all of our mental contents. So usually when any of us start meditating, the first thing we notice is how much thinking and emotions and storytelling, internal narrative that we do. And just to say, we're not trying to get rid of it. None of these foundations of mindfulness, we're not trying to get rid of like the building blocks of our experience. What this is asking us to do is to become aware, to notice, I am thinking about that. What is that experience of that thought like? That's what it's asking us to do, to bring presence to it. And then we've got the fourth foundation of mindfulness, dharmas. Dharmas. So this can mean truth, or it can mean truth teaching, or it can mean just sort of like stuff or things like, I don't know, like the nature of existence. What is this mind and material world? What is this that we call being alive, that we call experience, that we call world? So in this fourth foundation of mindfulness, we're being asked to be present to our experience, but also be present to, just notice the process of experience as well. I suppose it's just asking us to look at the nature of experience and being aware, rather than being caught up in story, in fantasy, whatever like that. And so what this can look like is bringing the teachings of the Buddha. So we're aware of a teaching of the Buddha, and then what we're doing is we're using that as a bigger perspective to look at our experience. So actually that teaching takes us more directly into our direct experience, so that we can see it for ourselves. We're not just trusting what the Buddha said. It's like we're taking that and we're really looking ourselves. Well, is that true? When I'm in touch with the texture of experience, is that my experience as well? So I think I'd just invite you during this week to be interested in whatever process is happening, whatever the context of your life. Be interested in what is happening, what is your experience. And every time we bring that sense of interest, it's like we're growing this resilience, this, whatever life is throwing at us. We don't have to be sort of rocked or swayed, or it's just like, what is this like? This is interesting. This is interesting. So I think I'm going to end on a personal note. I think mindfulness really can transform our lives, because it has transformed mine. So I used to be a rock climber, and my whole life was about going and finding intense experience by getting myself in really particular conditions. So I would go and climb a mountain or a cliff, and that would give me a really strong sense of aliveness, being awake, being present, and also a sense of meaning. And then the whole rest of my life, it's like I sort of ignored it. It was just like something I had to get through until I could get to the experience that was the real deal. And then I started practicing the Dharma. And then I realised that actually I didn't have to live my life rushing through lots of it to get to the little sections that I wanted. Actually, when I lived from a deeper place, actually that adventure and excitement could be present, every day, in every moment. And of course, it's not that I actually managed to live every day, every moment like that. But it's more like at every moment, I have the opportunity to step into that vividness and that aliveness and that awareness. And that's what I would like to invite you to do as well.